When you started the book, were you aware of the rumors that Stanwyck was one of the Hollywood lesbians?
Yes, and I was, and I mean, I didn't care if she was gay, was gay or not. I just wanted to get, again, to the truth. And I interviewed a lot of people, and for volume 1, let me put it this way, there's one sort of relationship that I hint at because I don't have corroboration. I do think that something happened between Stanwyck and Joan Crawford when they were in New York as young showgirls. And I heard something about Crawford. I mean, I'd always heard about Crawford in that regard. But one of Stanwyck's relatives, who was this very, very proper West Hartford woman, and at first she didn't want to have anything to do with me, but ultimately she really opened up to me. We became great friends. And she told me the most outrageous, this unbelievably proper, imagine Gladys Cooper telling the story of Joan Crawford, having sex with a woman. I could be more graphic, but I don't think I will be. And, so I knew that had to be true because there's no way that June Merkant would have made that up. So I sensed that there was something. But basically, I think Stanwyck was straight. But, it's such a sort of old-fashioned notion. But in her time, it was the appropriate way of being, that is, straight or gay. And I think that the idea of her being gay was something that would have... when she had the affair with Robert Wagner, who was 24 to her 40, they had to keep it a secret because it would have destroyed both of their careers. So you could imagine if somebody found out you were gay, you would have been tarred and feathered.
Well, one of the reasons I sort of think she may not be is just about her worst performance is as a lesbian in Walk on the Wild Side. It's as if that is her idea of a lesbian, and it's stereotypes.
Well, she played it that way, but as I know, it's a funny story because Hedda Hopper said, "Well, you're playing a lesbian," and she said, "Yes, Hedda, what did you want them to do, hire a real one?" And so I think she saw it as this sort of arch way of being, but I'm going to develop this particular aspect of who she was in volume 2, where I have more to write about.
You're an editor, and you're a great one, legendary.
Thank you.
And you don't let me get away with the thing. You don't let any of your writers get away with the thing. Were you as tough on yourself as you are on us writers?
I was probably a lot tougher. And I edited this book probably, I put it into, once I realized it was going to be 2 volumes, I had to shape it to be one book unto itself. And then I edited it probably 10 times or 20 times.
But it's still, how long? Almost 1,000 pages?
Well, it's 800 pages with 200 pages of back matter.
Okay, I said monumental. And that just takes us up to 1941.
It does. 1940.
1940. So there's that much material.
Well,
and you cut out a lot.
And I did cut out a lot. And the truth is that when everybody found out it was going to be 2 volumes, it was like they thought, well, what could you possibly write about without writing about Double Indemnity and Lady Eve and Meet John Doe? And I said, don't worry. And I said, don't worry, you're going to believe me, there's plenty of material, and there is. She had a huge life, she had a huge career, she made 88 movies, 20 years worth of television, and by the time this book ends in 1940, she's made, 4 movies with Frank Capra, with William Wellman, she's made films with George Stevens, Mitch Leisen, she's worked with Preston Sturges, King Vidor, Cecil B. DeMille. By the way, those pictures of her on Ed Begley's desk were taken just around the time of Union. That was her Union Pacific hair. And she had a phenomenal career, which is why she interested me, because you can tell the whole history of Hollywood and television through that career.
What the original title of your book was before Still True?
Was there another title?
Yes, you told it to me, about her world, her century.
Oh, no, that was the subtitle. It was Her Work, Her World, Her Hollywood Through an American Century. But then I thought, well, I can't really do that because this book doesn't go through an American century. So I had to make it plausible and make sense.
But it's somebody came up to me and said, it's more than a biography.
Yes,
it is.
Well, it's a big cultural history of, as I said, of politics, of what's going on in Hollywood. I tell a lot of great stories. I'm not going to go into it, but I tell the story of the Screen Actors, the formation of the Screen Actors Guild, and how they were finally recognized by the producers. That's a great story. And it involved, all of Hollywood. Here were these huge stars: Robert Montgomery, Joan Crawford, Franchot Tone, Clark Gable. They were all going to walk out on strike unless the producers acknowledged them as their own, to negotiate on their behalf. And they were set. They were set to go out on strike. But who were they striking for? They weren't striking for themselves. This shows you what another age of human beings was like, because they were striking for the B actors and actresses who had no protection, who didn't have these huge contracts, and they were striking to protect them, because that union was really started by people like Ralph Morgan and Frank Morgan and James Gleason.
Though Stanwyck herself was not an activist in that union.
No, and she had to be. That's the reason why. I sort of backed into all of these stories because I found out that she was forced to join the Screen Actors Guild. So I thought, well, there's an interesting story, and that tells you about her. She didn't believe in unions. And in fact, they threatened to sort of throw her out of equity in New York if she didn't join the Screen Actors Guild, so she ultimately joined.
Tell us, in addition to the great performance tonight, what other two essential performances do we need to see for Stanwyck? Well,
you have to see, of course everybody's going to say Double Indemnity, but it's a great performance, but I see that as a real ensemble. That is Edward G. Robinson, who's fabulous in that movie, and even Fred McMurray is fantastic. I say, I love Remember the Night. I love Stella Dallas is a great movie. I have problems with it, but she's good in it. And Lady Eve.
And what about her film noir in the 50s, which I love? Jeopardy, Crime of Passion, Witness to Murder, interesting stuff.
They are interesting, and I'm going to be writing about them.
Okay, so volume 2. Okay, Vicki will be outside in the lobby signing her extraordinary book. Really, it's amazing. It's more than a biography. You learn so much about all the figures, and you are an editor. Editors usually don't write or want to write. Isn't that true? Most editors don't have a secret novel in their desk.
Well, I think they do, but they sort of gave up. They had a notion that they might be writers, and instead they became editors.
So you're an editor who has become a writer.
I'm a freak. What can I say?
Okay. A freak, a great editor, and a great writer. Vicki Wilson.
Thank you all.